Hi, this is Dr. Kim Lee, child psychiatrist based here in Adelaide, and I'm going to talk to you about the psychological and mental health effects of social distancing, quarantine and social isolation. And well done, we have made it to 14 days, 2 weeks here in Australia with the so-called lockdown because of this COVID-19 virus. And it's very important that we keep staying at home, washing our hands, restricting our movements out in public places. Doing this short video is that I often get asked now by my friends and family, Kim, how is this period of time, this period of stress going to potentially affect me and my family, and what can I do to protect them? Well, I'm going to be referencing a Lancet review article that was published last month. The Lancet is a medical journal, and they looked at 24 studies of populations of people who were quarantined due to outbreaks of viruses such as the H1N1, SARS and Ebola, so those past viral outbreaks. When we talk about quarantine and social isolation, it's people who are at risk of spreading the virus, people who are flown in on a plane from overseas, or people who have the virus and they must stay in a hotel room for 14 days. Now, the social distancing is different, and we're heading into beyond the 14-day mark. I mean, these studies actually talk about 10 days. We're at 14 days. And we don't actually know the psychological effects of such a prolonged period of an entire population. After your psychological and mental health, this is about how to best cope during this difficult time, this period of prolonged uncertainty and worry and stress, and how you can best get back on your feet once all of this blows over. And people who struggle from the psychological effects tend to have difficulty getting back to their normal routines, getting control over their thoughts and their feelings, and getting a normal sleep routine back. Those who have already pre-existing mental health issues, young people and the elderly. But we should also make sure we look after the people who are actually infected with the virus or spent a period of time in quarantine because they were worried they got the virus from overseas or they were in contact with someone who had the virus. We should also make sure that we look after and support people who are on the front lines, because they identified people who are healthcare workers in hospitals, in our GP practices were most at risk. Also mothers, carers, people who look after young children, pregnant women, people who are caring for elderly people, people who are under a lot of financial stress, people who have their own small businesses who are affected, people who have lost their jobs, people who are from low-income families who might already be struggling already. This also affects your ability to access supplies in a timely manner, and this can create a lot of anger and resentment. This period of time can lead to a lot of confusion for people at home. It's really important that people can access good information in a timely manner and make sure that they understand the reasons why they are actually in social isolation or social distancing or staying at home, the reasons why staying at home is so important. By staying at home, you are protecting the community, you're protecting your loved ones, you're protecting your family. Actually having that feeling that you are doing something for the greater good can actually be a protective factor for you. So make sure you do remind yourself that you are doing a good job, and we are all doing our bit to make sure that we slow the curve and flatten the curve. I just want to talk about the stigma that can be attached to viral infections such as COVID-19. The past studies showed that people who were healthcare workers, people who were on the front line, they tended to have more psychological outcomes because when everything blew over, when everything died down and went back to normal, other people started to treat them differently. Some people might actually reject them outright. People were afraid of spending time with these people, and also they identified that people from minority groups were also affected at increased risk of this social rejection and stigma attached to the infection. Lastly, I just want to mention the effects on PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, PTSD occurs when you've been exposed to or directly experienced trauma where your life was in danger, and people who had the infection or were in a period of quarantine where they were worried they had the infection, at 6 months' time they had ongoing symptoms of PTSD, meaning they had flashbacks or nightmares or reliving experiences. They avoided public places, they avoided triggers that reminded them of their past experiences of the infection. And also people continue to be hypervigilant. They continue to anxiously wash their hands months after. Support each other, that we are kind to each other, kind to our healthcare workers, kind to the people who work in our supermarkets, kind to our teachers, and kind to each other, and make sure that we prepare ourselves, because the studies don't actually talk about what it is like to have prolonged periods of social distancing. A lot of the studies actually talk about 10 days as the cutoff time. We are going to go into potentially months of social distancing and disruption of our daily routines. And this can create a lot of worry, a lot of anxiety, and create that fight, flight, fright response, whereby a lot of us might be in a state of increased activity, panic, getting ready for the worst possible outcome, and this can be exhausting. So I'll create another video about some ways that you can help protect yourselves and help reduce the effects of social distancing, this COVID-19 period that we're going through, for better psychological and mental health. So if you enjoyed this video, please do like my Facebook page, Dr. Kimley, Psychiatrist, and I'll post up some more videos on what you can actually do to protect yourself. Thanks again.